did you enjoy most about your time at Minnehaha? Uh, you got to play in a few state tournaments. You were I think you were a freshman when they won in 2019. So you got to experience a little bit of everything. And then as in your 4 years there, what do you look back on most fondly with the teammates you had and all the experiences you got to partake in?
Yeah, definitely my freshman year was really fun, especially because obviously we won the state tournament, so that was something I probably will always remember. And then going towards just building as a person and creating new friendships and everything like that was just a great experience that I couldn't have asked for anything better, really. I really enjoyed myself. Even if some of the years that we didn't make it to the tournament and we came up short, or we did make it and we still came up short, but it was still really fun and I still really enjoyed myself. But yeah, I feel like the memories I have with the teammates and the friendships I created, those were the biggest things, honestly.
So what would you say your college recruiting experience was like? Because I think you started at Johnson County and then Mineral, and you've had, and you're not the only athlete to go through this, a circuitous path. Some players settle on a school and they make a home out of it, or at least they did before the transfer portal became a thing. But I digress. Just what has that been like for you? Because it's not often. I've seen players sign up for different schools throughout their college career. So again, some find a great fit right away. Others have to experiment or kind of try to fit into different sets, different puzzles, so to speak. So what has that been like for you? Because it's not something you often hear about in terms of all the schools you've tried out for or played for.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult experience, because I feel like you really never know what you're getting into when you commit to a place, and until you're there, until you're playing, until you're in the environment, and you really get a feel for everything, that you're there, that you feel like, maybe this wasn't the great fit, or maybe I'll make what I can out of it, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year. That was kind of my decision throughout most of it. It was, what was going to be the best decision for me. Am I going to be happy? Am I going to, get what I can out of it? Most of the time it was I couldn't, and I had to go somewhere else to, be able to fulfill what I needed to do and get better as a player, get better as a person, and obviously the academic side too, to be able to graduate was really important to me. So finding somewhere that I can call home and I can feel comfortable and not, so uneasy was really important. But to navigate that is obviously not easy. Some people stay all 4 years and, they have bad experiences, but they make the best out of it. And some people take the chance and go somewhere else and maybe get a little more out of their college experience.
If you don't mind, perhaps we'll start is right out of Minnehaha. You went to Johnson County. What kind of looks were you getting at the time? Because I remember maybe you weren't the most heralded athlete, and that's okay. I'm not. This isn't me saying that you were overrated, anything like that. But a lot of times people gravitate toward the big scorers or things like that. But for you, I'm just curious, what offers did you get, and what led you to start on the JUCO path?
Out of high school, I think I was just getting looks in JUCO and D3s, and JUCO was definitely the best path because, one, I feel like it's a lot harder coming up from JUCO than anywhere else. Like, you really gotta succeed and you really gotta do good to get the looks that you want, and that was, at the time, that was all I was getting, and that's where I had to go, because D3 wasn't really the best option for me that I felt like at the time. So at the time, JUCO was the best option, and I wouldn't regret doing anything else.
So you play your freshman year there. I guess, what do you remember from that time, and then when did you think about making a move? Because you went to Mineral, and from what I recall, you did quite well over there. But just take us through that journey where you tried out one school and then decided maybe there's a better fit elsewhere, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, that year it was okay. I think it was, difficult for me to adjust. I feel like it is for any player when they come out of high school and, they had that role that they've been playing for 4 years and they have to reestablish and rebuild and go to a whole different, whole different program that they're doing a whole bunch of different stuff that you're not used to. So it was just kind of like a self-discovery for me that year to figure out what I really wanted and what I wanted out of school. Because I feel like when you're choosing a school out of ninth grade, not ninth grade, but when you're choosing a school, as a senior.
It felt like ninth grade.
Yeah, it did.
It felt like ninth grade all over again.
It did. It really did. Choosing, but choosing a school at that age is your mindset is really different. You're more thinking of maybe they have a better gym or maybe they have better facilities. You're not always thinking about how you're actually going to fit with the team, fit with the coaches and all that. So I think that's something that I didn't take into consideration that first year, and I ended up somewhere. We were a really good team. We ended up going to the national tournament. I think we lost the third round or second round, but we did fairly well. We were like undefeated for most of the season, so I can't complain about being on a good team, but I can complain about not feeling like it was the best fit for me, and that's what led me to try out Mineral, and it happened to be really good for me. I loved it there. I loved the coaches. I loved the environment, the community that I was surrounded by. I think that all really helped me to build as a player, and it landed me a spot in Anchorage, which we were also a really good team. Went undefeated for most of the season. Went to the national tournament. But yeah.
So what did you sense was different about just the dynamics, the environment, and even your own psyche morale going from Johnson County to Mineral area? I mean, It's another JUCO, but as you stated, you had a much brighter experience. Statistically, I'd have to look up again how you did, because I tell folks I don't memorize stats. I do, like, before a game I will, because I need that context. But once the game's done, I throw that out the window because players don't really talk about that. Yeah. At least in my experience. Maybe you do, but...
No, not really. I definitely don't remember my stats from that year.
Oh, yeah. And I joke, if I were to ask you how many career points you had at like Minnehaha or at a school...
Yeah, I do not.
I'd be like,
I do not.
What?
Yeah, I do not
but
remember.
what did you sense was different, where you felt, I guess, more cheerful, for lack of a better term? What was different about Mineral area that you felt, all right, I found that next stepping stone?
I think a big thing was the coaches and their belief in me and what I could do. I feel like to have coaches that have your back, you want to give more as like a player and as an athlete. You want to give back and you want to serve them because they're serving you and they're doing what they can for you. So I felt like that was a big thing. And then my teammates too. I was surrounded by a really good group of girls. We all wanted to work together and we all wanted to win and we all had goals that we all worked towards. I think that was also a big thing. And also just, like I said, the community. I actually had some really good teachers. I had stuff like that I could go to when I wasn't feeling the best or when I wasn't playing the best. I had people that I could go to that I didn't have my first year. So I feel like that's really important, having people having people that you can go to when things aren't going your way, that you can lean on, is probably the most important thing to have in college.
So in what ways did you feel you made a step forward at Mineral area that maybe you weren't able to do at Johnson County? And I'm not phrasing it to try to have you knock down a school like one over the other, but
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, what was it about? What did you discover in yourself? What did you learn about yourself making that move and trying something different?
Yeah, definitely. My confidence was built back up again. You know, figuring out that a school isn't right for you and trying a whole different school that you've never been to. I actually never visited Mineral. I committed over the phone. I was like one of the last commitments. So it was like a crazy experience to like not know nothing that I was getting into because I had no visit. I had like 2 calls with the coach. But I was like, okay, let's do this. And, you know, putting all your faith in a school that you really know nothing about. Ended up being, you know, the best decision for me because, I got that confidence and I got that leadership I had to get better at, and everything like that. Just being better as a person as well, being a better teammate. I feel like all those things I had to learn my second year.
Well, you said you had never visited Mineral area. I don't remember where that is.
It's a small town, Park Hills, Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it until until I heard about it from you, because with all the players that I've met over the years, I've learned a lot about schools. So you think about never having gone to Mineral in that part of Missouri.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm guessing you also had never visited Anchorage.
No, I actually did visit Anchorage.
I meant before you went to school there.
No, yeah, I did.
You did go to Anchorage?
Yeah, I went on a visit. Yeah.
Okay, well.
But they're my only visit I went on, because my recruitment out of JUCO is really different from my recruitment out of high school. I got a lot more looks and stuff like that because I had a really good season. So, but my looks came towards, you know, the end of leaving and stuff like that to go back home. So it was really difficult for me to try to navigate, you know, going on visits and stuff like that. And when I visited Anchorage, it was either like, you know, you take this opportunity or you don't at that time. And it was either like, well, what offers do I have that's better than this school? And at that time, I didn't really have a lot of offers that were better than that school. So I was like, okay, then if this is my best opportunity and this is my best chance, I'm going to take it.
I know you didn't get the season you were expecting over there, but that had to have been, not an eye-opener, but had to have been another learning experience for you. It's not like going to another country, but you're going to a state that is cut off from the lower 48, so Alaska is up there, but what led you to, you mentioned they had an offer and you thought, well, this is this is the best one we've got, so let's see if we can make it work. But what is it like up there? For lack of a better phrase, what is it like up in Alaska?
Well, obviously freezing, compared to Minnesota, comparable, but not as, I would say not as bad. You know, I lived in Minnesota for 18 years of my life, so I obviously got through it, but their winters are, you know, much more longer than ours. And that's crazy to say because most of our winters are pretty long some years, but the mountains, I would say the scenery is really beautiful during the summer or spring. When I was there, it was very nice when the snow actually starts to melt. Also, I saw a lot of mooses that I've never seen in my life, so that was pretty cool, I would say. But overall experiences, it was a pretty small town that I was in, even though it was like, because most of it's just mountains that you're surrounded by and where people can't live. But overall, I would say like the experiences it was needed to, it was character building, it was challenging, and it was something I had to get through. But I definitely feel like I came out a better person to go through all of it, and to be there and to go through the hard winters and to, wake up and, the sun sets at 2 o'clock and you're in the dark for the rest of the day, and deal with stuff like that. I feel like it's not what everybody else is dealing with in every other state they're playing basketball in. So to go through that and to deal with that, especially as an injured player, and to see it all happen, I feel like is definitely character building and definitely was needed at the time of my life.
Well, speaking of character building, you alluded to it or teased it, but I think 4 games in, you had a season-ending injury, and you certainly can't predict when or where it's going to happen. You never wish it. If you don't mind, what occurred and what was the recovery process like? Because just as you were trying to get a sense of things, I know you didn't play a ton at Alaska-Anchorage, but you didn't really get a chance to really immerse yourself because of that. So, like, what happened and what was the recovery process like, and what were some of the takeaways you picked up making your way or rehabbing your way back to full strength?
Yeah, so I had got hurt during an open gym. I had subluxed my shoulder, and I was in a sling for a couple weeks, and I got out of it. I was doing okay. I started practicing again. This was still preseason, so we were still, just practicing and doing all that kind of stuff. But the subluxing continued, so my shoulder kept popping out during practice, and that's when we decided to, get an MRI and that kind of stuff. And then we had to wait for the MRI. So it was definitely a long process to even know what was really going on. By the time we knew, I found out that I had torn my whole labrum in my shoulder. I torn most of it, and it was either like, well, you could play and risk of permanent damage of your arm, or you could get the surgery now, recover, and possibly be back for next year. And I was like, yeah, I would rather just get the surgery. But yeah, the process, I was in a sling for a month right after surgery. I couldn't move my arm. I was in the sling for basically like 24 hours a day, except for when I showered, which was really difficult because you never really think what to not do when you don't have one of your arms. You don't really think, that's never really a thought in your mind, but I had to navigate that and everything that came with that when it came to, even brushing my hair and getting dressed in the morning, and all of that was really difficult. And then after that, I went straight into PT, and I've been doing PT since January. I just stopped actually before I came here. I had my last couple days back home when I was in Texas, but yeah. So the recovery has been hard, going from being in the sling and then not even be able to raise my hand above my head or pick up something that's 2 or 3 pounds, or even do a bicep curl, something I've been doing for years and years and years, to have to rebuild all of that, and to rebuild also the confidence in myself when it comes to basketball, and not being afraid of re-injuring myself, and not being afraid of what could come with playing again, has been really difficult, I would say, to comprehend and to go through, because this was literally the biggest injury I've had in my whole career. I've had ankle sprains, I've had everything else, it feels like, but to go through a surgery and be out for a whole season, that's something that I had never experienced but I definitely think it's made me appreciate a lot more of what I had before, and I feel really obviously grateful that a team even wanted to come and pick me out of not really seeing much of me this past season and believing in me. I feel really grateful for that, and I wouldn't take it back being injured at all. Even how hard it was, I wouldn't take it back.
Was it a similar process that led you to go from Alaska-Anchorage elsewhere, or just what did you feel in terms of, do I stick it out here or do I try my hand elsewhere?
Yeah, it was definitely, I feel like going through a season as a injured player, you definitely get a whole different perspective on the game and how you're treated as a player, how you're treated as a person. I think, yeah, I would say it wasn't the best fit for me, being out there. And obviously, I moved way closer back to home this time, and I think that will be a really good thing for me too. Coming off an injury, to be at least have some family come to games and stuff like that. I was thinking about that as well, that I might have never thought about before. But yeah, the process also was really different. Like you said, I didn't have much film from this past year. I just had my JUCO film. So obviously they didn't really know exactly what they were getting when it came to me. But me and my dad actually spent a lot of time, sending out emails, sending out the film I had, sending out everything. And luckily, I think with the transfer portal helped a lot too. Me too, from the redshirt year, having 2 years left and not just one, definitely helped too. Because not all teams are just looking for 1 year. They're looking for somebody that can come in, impact at least for 2-3 years or however long they need you. So, but I talked to a handful of schools, and I definitely took my time in making this decision this time. I wanted it to be the best decision. I didn't want to end up somewhere that I felt that it wasn't right for me again. And I think I made a really good decision this time with the coaches and with where I am too as a person. I think this will be really good for me, and I'm really grateful that they even took a chance and saw me for who I am as a player and as a person. So,
what do you hope to show or remind everyone about yourself now that you've healed and are ready to get back out there?
Honestly, I just really want to show, like you said, the type of player and the type of person that I am. And I feel like it's definitely similar to where I was in high school. Like, I still that type of role player that I don't really care too much about how many points I score or anything like that. I want to contribute to winning in any way possible that I can. And I feel like that's always the type of mindset I'll always have when it comes to basketball, to do what I can for other people and make other people succeed. That makes me succeed. But yeah, just remind myself and others that I'm a really good player, and I have a lot to offer on any team that I would play for. So to get myself back in that spot, and yeah, that's the most important for me, I feel like.
What would you like to do once you complete your studies, get through college basketball? Do you see yourself playing professionally? Do you see yourself in another career? Like, what kind of goals, what dreams, ideals do you have for yourself as you move forward?
I feel like if the opportunity comes, play overseas and still get some schooling done, I do want, or I'm looking at, getting my PhD. So, getting that schooling and playing overseas and getting experience and getting to, travel the world, that would be awesome. But also, if that doesn't happen, that's okay too. I want to be a sports psychologist. I want to help people. I want to help athletes, especially when it comes to, that mental side of the game, because that is very important when it comes to any sport that you play, to be right mentally. And, you see that a lot of athletes are struggling, and it's been more prominent now than ever, I feel like, than it was, 10 years ago when I was in middle school, or 4 years ago when I was in high school. Like, spoken about, and it's as it should be, because people should get the help that they need, and not feel weak or not feel scared to speak up, regardless of if they're at a D1 or if they're at a D3. But that's definitely what I want to pursue, and I'm really passionate about it, and because I've went through it all, as you've seen, when it comes to changing schools, when it comes to being injured, when it comes to losing big games, and going through that too. I've experienced it all, and I couldn't want more than to help somebody else that's experiencing what I've been through.
Yeah, and you have been through a lot. And then just mentally, I suppose the recovery process, but were there any points in your own playing career life that led you towards psychology? Because in my head, I know there's a psychologist track, of course, and then I know several who are psych majors will look into coaching for that reason, mm-hmm. because a lot of it is understanding what your athletes might be experiencing in any given moment. But anything from there that perhaps sparked this interest?
Yeah, I feel like even junior year, senior year in high school, I struggled with the mental side of basketball and just my mental health in general. It was really hard for me to navigate. It's really hard to find someone to talk to or to feel.
It wasn't my play-by-play, was it?
No.
I didn't say anything that triggered.
No, you didn't trigger me. But just growing up too, sometimes you just don't deal with things that you should deal with, and because you don't know how to navigate it at the time, and it comes up later in your life, and it affects different parts of your life when it comes to academics and sports and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like navigating that and basketball at the same time has been pretty difficult, to find time for yourself and to get your mental right before you're committing to play at these really high level places. Is very difficult to have that good mindset and to keep that mindset for an entirety of the season. So I think that's definitely what sparked it, and obviously what I've been through as a player and as a person definitely has intrigued me as well. Wanting to help people that might have been in a place that I was at, 15, 16, up and up.
I guess if you don't mind sharing, and I don't ask this to try to relitigate any dark moments, but
no,
just what were
okay.
some things? Because I've had some players discuss maybe moments, events, mm-hmm. or instances where they were overwhelmed by everything happening to them. So when I remember seeing you junior, senior year, I wouldn't have picked up anything.
Yeah.
And also don't go around everyone's mental health.
Yeah.
It's not usually how I prep for games, but
yeah.
I wouldn't have noticed anything, at least on the outside, but maybe what were some things on the inside that were tugging at you, so to speak?
Yeah, I feel like, confidence as a player tugs on you a lot, feeling like you're good enough, feeling like you're doing enough. That will always be in the back of your mind, regardless how good of a player you are. That kind of stuff, and obviously, growing up, and navigating that, being in high school, that kind of stuff, struggling with, anxiety and what people think of you and how you look and all that kind of stuff. It all ties together sometimes, and like I said, as a teenager, you don't really know how to deal with it. You're not really taught how to deal with it. And then playing a high-level sport where you have to perform every night and you have to perform every practice. That the stressor that comes with that, and like I said, say you don't perform as well as you could, sometimes you're not in the mindset to be like, okay, I can do better. Sometimes you're like, dang, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe this is not for me. That plays through your mind a lot sometimes, especially when you get to college and you're playing with really good players and you're struggling with your confidence. You really think about, hey, is this? Can I do this? Am I good enough? And that's the kind of stuff that you mostly deal with alone sometimes. But to have other people that think the same things and you can go with it together and figure it out together is can be really helpful too.